Cool. So welcome to today's panel session on the commercialization of quantum computing. My name is Devereux, and I'm chairing the panel today. I'm a quantum computing consultant at Fujitsu, as well as a PhD student at the University of Warwick. A little bit about me and why I'm here and interested in this panel discussion. I joined Fujitsu nearly 4 years ago as a graduate business consultant with a master's in physics. And I found myself looking for interesting problems to solve. Thankfully, the quantum technologies team had plenty. At the time, it was focused on annealing, and I started learning all about drug discovery. And then I went on to lead the space debris removal team in the quantum annealing space. This huge breadth of interesting problems to solve demonstrated the value of quantum technologies to me. And from here, the potential of quantum computing seemed like the appropriate next step to explore. So that exploration began with teaching myself the basics of quantum computing. And then I realized that to continue in my career, I needed to do a PhD. Fujitsu thankfully agreed to fund my PhD in quantum computing, where I'm studying quantum algorithms for solving stochastic differential equations with commercial applications. And University of Warwick thankfully agreed to let me study, both of which I'm hugely grateful for. So my questions to the panel today are extra poignant because you are all laying the foundations of the industry that I hope to spend the rest of my career in. And so I'm really excited to hear your opinions and what you've got to say on the topic. And I'm certain that we're going to get some really original points of view. So to just introduce you again, if that's okay, we have Philip Intallura from HSBC, who's the Global Head of Quantum Technologies, Ilana Wisby, founder and CEO of Oxford Quantum Circuits, Shintaro Sato-san, Fujitsu Global Advanced Compute Lead, and Rachel Mays, the Head of Quantum Technologies in the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. So if you could all just take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves and give a comment on the current state of the commercialization of quantum computing. You all right to start, Philip?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for the introduction. Yeah, so I look after the quantum technology programs at HSBC. It's about a year and a quarter it's been running for about a year and a quarter. And I think I was here this time last year just talking about this is what we plan to do, and I'm glad to be back here talking about what we have done, and hopefully they're fairly well aligned. But yeah, so two thoughts around where we are in terms of the commercialization of quantum. Firstly, I think we're still some years away from commercially useful quantum advantage, right? There's tremendous progress happening around the technologies. I have no doubt we will get there. But we shouldn't underestimate some of the technological challenges from scaling up, fidelity, state preparation, all these kinds of technological challenges and engineering challenges we have to build fully scalable quantum computers for use in an organization like ours. So on that hand, very much exploration. You can still do a lot of great stuff with the hardware and figure out directionally where you want to focus your efforts, even on things like toy problems. But the second thought is there are also a lot of quantum technologies out there, or inspired technologies out there, which are much more accessible in the near term. Things like quantum annealers, digital annealers, hybrid kinds of solution. Outside of computation, you have things like quantum key distribution. These are much more mature quantum technologies that you can apply much sooner in a production environment. And you won't achieve quantum advantage necessarily, or very unlikely, but you may achieve some sort of economic advantage. You may be able to deploy better optimization models using some of the inspired technologies to do things better than you currently do at the moment in the organization. And so we split our efforts between the two things. It's the research on the real exciting hardware that is coming our way, but it's also what can we do now to bridge that gap, that time gap, with technologies that are accessible right now.
Amazing. Ilana, can you follow that up with your introduction, please?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone, my name is Dr. Alana Wisby. I am a deep tech entrepreneur and the CEO of Oxford Quantum Circuits. My CTO, Simon's name is up here. He's going to give us a wave, because he's there. Thank you, Simon. Yeah, so we build quantum systems, right? We build quantum computers, and it's really our vision to put quantum into the hands of humanity to solve some of the world's most challenging and pressing problems. And we're really, as an organization, proactively building and creating that vision today. And we do that by making sure that we're building systems that are production ready. And by that we mean they're seamless, they're accessible. We see this future as hybrid. It needs to seamlessly integrate with customers' existing workflow to bring down barriers to entry to access, so that we can have customers today already exploring, exploiting, and working with us and within their own teams on the technology and on our quantum systems. So that's one area, and we do that in multiple ways. So physically, we put our quantum computers into data centers, which of course brings down that barrier to entry for access because customers already are there, right? Anybody that has a problem that you might want to be able to solve or apply quantum computing to, typically they're going to want to do that in a secure infrastructure, which we can specifically embed ourselves within, which has been a phenomenal example of how we've been able to start to commercialize early on this nascent type of technology. The second is with our offering OQC Labs, where we can support our customers in helping them explore and understand how to create algorithms, how to interact with existing quantum systems today. And certainly, I completely agree, it's a few years out. We need to build higher quality performant systems with qubits that are going to be a greater scale of higher quality in order to outperform and really create significant business impact. But that's not to say that quantum is not happening now, and the timing to interact with it is already now. And we've seen this, so the state of commercialization, over the last, I think we've been online with Amazon Web Services now for about a year and a half, and we've seen quarter on quarter the customer interactions doubling, right? So the market pull is happening. And that's very real, that's very tangible, and the customers are getting smarter, and the technology is getting more performant, and we are positioning ourselves strategically so that we can make sure that when the technology is performant and ready, the customers are market ready, we're there, and you can simply spin up a processor.
Amazing.
Hi. I'm Shintaro. I'm the head of the quantum laboratory for Fujitsu research. First, let me explain a little bit about what we do for the quantum computing. Actually, we work on all the technology layers of quantum computing, from a device level, software, the application, everything. And we do not do this on our own. We actually do collaborate with the world-leading research institutions like RIKEN, Osaka University in Japan, and the TU Delft in the Netherlands. And actually, we're gonna release a 64-qubit superquantum quantum computer very soon, this fiscal year. And actually, you can take a look at our 64-qubit chip at our booth, our Fujitsu booth. You can take a look at it. It's really good. And then we work on not only the hardware layer, but also the software layer. Actually, we actually working on the error correction technology seriously. And actually, this March, we made a press release about the new computing architecture using error correction technology, which enables practical quantum computing with a relatively small number of qubits. That is very important for the, to make it commercial, to make a quantum computing commercial at early as possible, okay? And as for the commercial things about quantum computing, of course, we and other people try to, find a good application for NISQ device, but we have not yet found a good one yet. But anyway, the quantum technology is getting better and better for the last 5 or 10 years. So I believe that we can, that quantum computing can make a good impact on our society in the near future. So anyway, for the time being, for the moment, actually we have a HPC technology, DSIT technology, everything. So we'd like to help customers to solve problems anyway, but in the future we'd really like to use quantum computing to help our customers. That's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, Rachel.
Thank you. I'm Rachel Mays, so I'm the head of quantum policy in Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. So we're about to set up a new Office for Quantum, which will be responsible for implementing the strategy. So in terms of, I don't think I've got much to add in terms of the state of the commercialization of quantum, but probably would like to reiterate, although, yes, it seems like a long journey, actually it's going to be really important to engage now, to explore applications, because it will take a long time both to upskill and to understand the technology in a way that means that you can engage with it and find those applications. I think on the other side as well, it's probably important to realize that there's, at this stage of development, a really important interplay between software and hardware. So by engaging as users in the community and in use case exploration, you're actually helping to develop the technology and accelerate it. So in terms of government perspective, the quantum strategy sets out a number of activities to help speed up commercialization, from the establishment of the National Quantum Computing Centre, which helps to has technology development programs working with companies like Alanas. It also has access to compute and what we call quantum readiness programs, where it works with users to really help upskill and explore applications. Another key part of the strategy, as Hannah mentioned this morning, is around government as a user. So we have a catalyst fund looking at government applications, and we have over 10 years, we're setting up new mission and accelerator programs, really working with the community to set out, a shared outcome and objective to work towards. So that's just some of the things that we're working on, as well as creating the right regulatory environment for the sector.
Amazing, thank you everyone. So I think we can agree that the general consensus is quantum computing is still requiring a little bit more preparation before it's necessarily commercial, but there's a huge amount we can be doing right now. So Phil, I know that your current focus has been on applications. Could you share what approaches HSBC is taking to make sure that you're ready to commercialize quantum computing on a more application-based approach?
Yeah, so there's probably 3 things we've focused on in developing our program, which, as I said, is just over a year, about a year and a quarter old, which I would say are the key factors. So the first is partnership. So we recognize very early that as a bank we can't do this alone, and so we have to partner with top-class technology companies, academics, consortia, and all of these things so that we can bring our expertise and domain knowledge to this sort of broader ecosystem to work on these problems together. So that partnership point has been critical, and we've very much evolved that partnership. Fujitsu, of course, being one of those partners amongst others. The second kind of area we focused on was building a core team within our group innovation function, and so we actually brought in specialized skill sets who are trained in quantum, and we covered the key facets around quantum machine learning, optimization, cybersecurity, and we developed and brought that team in because there is no blueprint right now, and so it's kind of to accelerate how we get to that blueprint. You kind of need to, our view was to bring that talent in rather than kind of trying to cross-skill and then do it. And the third, I think, key element for our program is we engaged a lot with our lines of business, and we tried to understand from them what their compute challenges were and where the types of problem they're solving lend themselves to the types of problem that quantum computing can solve. And so all of the POCs we have established are all real problems in the bank that have the support of the line of business, so that we're able to construct this kind of pod of quantum expertise, technology expertise, and domain expertise from the lines of business from the bank. And that's kind of what's accelerated our program over the last 12 months.
Amazing. And Rachel, you mentioned that you're looking to upskill, and there's a need to upskill. And obviously Phil's mentioned he's hiring in talent, but it's a small talent pool. How is the government and the policy dealing with resourcing for quantum computing?
Yeah, I think from a government perspective, that's the main thing that the sector says to us is skills are incredibly important and hard to come by because it's a very competitive global situation and it's an emerging field. So as part of the strategy, we've committed to funding 1,000 new PhDs. So we've already started that in terms of looking at new doctoral training centres, increasing fellowships. So just trying to get more people into the system. But it's wider than PhDs, obviously. As Phil said, it's about people who understand the sectors. It's about, actually having enough people before PhD doing sciences. So we have a Quantum Ambassador program, and we've put additional funding into that so that people can go out and talk to school children about why is quantum important. And we're setting up a skills task force because it's still a nascent sector. So we don't know all the answers yet, and I think it's a commitment from government to work with the right people to find out, and track and help put in place new policies as the need emerges.
Great, well, that's really exciting. And in terms of preparation, Ilana, you mentioned that you're working towards seamless integration, and when should businesses and organizations expect to receive quantum advantage, and how should they be approaching getting that seamless integration?
Yeah, sure thing. So firstly, you should be interacting with it now, right? It is going to take a learning journey, and you can already access these systems, and it's going to take time, as we've heard, to find the right talent, find the right teams, understand the specific business cases, apply and write those algorithms. And you need to make sure that we're investing in that early, as opposed to kind of waiting until there's a high, fully error-corrected fault-tolerant quantum computer. We don't need to wait. These systems can provide business added value sooner than that. And I would expect, a few hundred qubits, realistically 50 plus, 50 to 100 high-quality qubits would be able to do things that fundamentally are not possible today. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait, right? We are seeing, and we have many POCs with customers who are running like optimization problems on their banking data, for example, or they're looking at understanding the materials that underpin their future R&D development for new battery materials, or pharmaceuticals for specific drugs and how they would interact. And you can take these, large-scale, yes, one day a full fault-tolerant quantum computer would be able to do fantastic, phenomenal things, but you can break those down into smaller and smaller subset problems and start interacting with them on quantum computing today. And people do see benefit from doing that, both from a team-building perspective, from an understanding perspective, but also they do get benefit. They often see a small optimization, for example, in time. They might not be able to fully understand why behind it, but there's many publications that are starting to demonstrate that even today, if you're running the right algorithms and you're optimizing in the right way, it's not simply a completely experimental, like no impact case, right? They're POCs with a purpose that are providing return on investment to our customers. Of course, we need to make sure that we manage that timeline, we manage the expectations towards that, and I think significant business added value where a customer has been able to solve something that was unable to be solved before through a NISQ era, it's probably still 3 to 5 years away. But in the world of business, that's really not that long. And companies like OQC, we're moving at pace, and we're making sure that any type of barriers to entry for this world of seamless quantum compute are reduced. Right, by putting the quantum computers into the data centers, into the world's existing data infrastructure, you can seamlessly have your classical computer, your quantum computer, interacting in a hybrid manner with super low latency in your secure data infrastructure environment. Like, that's the vision of the world that we're building, and that exists today with these types of partnerships, with these collaborations, and with the work that OQC is doing. So definitely, I'm going to shout out my partnerships team as well, who are also here, who'd be happy to talk more specifics if you have ideas that you want to explore. But really, that's what that vision is for us and how we're delivering on it.
Amazing. So if, as you say, quantum advantage is achieved by investing in quantum computing now, obviously Fujitsu and OQC have recently partnered to provide a quantum computer and a quantum simulator alongside each other to CESCA in Spain. From a quantum technologies perspective, OQC and Fujitsu would be considered natural competitors. So what advantage is it to Fujitsu to sell what could be considered a competitor system, Sato-san?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Actually, it is partly because of the business perspective, because we don't have yet a commercially available quantum computer yet. That's one reason. And another reason is, anyway, we still have a long way to go. We have a lot of technical issues to address. So we are really open to collaborate with anyone. It can be a competitor, because we don't know yet the final solution, right? So in that sense, we are really open to any collaboration. And at this moment, we just do a business collaboration with OQC, but in the future, we don't know. So in that sense, we are really happy to collaborate with anyone in this, in this venue. So that's why,
and I think the power of OQC's quantum computer in the data center really set them up to be the perfect partnership for us in that space, right? And so, Rachel, what does this kind of partnership say about the quantum business ecosystem?
I think it's sort of already been touched on, but it kind of demonstrates this sort of maturity of the sector in the sense of, as you said, there's still a lot to be worked out. We're talking about the creation of entirely new novel stacks, and we don't know which platform's going to win out. So at this stage, collaboration is really important. So a lot of the activities we do through the quantum program is about enabling that interaction between different bits of the system and enabling learning between each other. So collaboration both in the UK and globally is going to be really critical at this stage, and also with associated sectors, the supply chain, so not just between, what you'd want to call strict quantum computing companies, but the wider ecosystem as well.
Absolutely. And finally, Phil, do you think cooperation like this will help users, or is it a little bit confusing for the market, especially those non-quantum users in the market?
Yeah, I think that my philosophy on partnerships is they're extremely positive. I mentioned up front that we partner. We see that when you bring two or more world-class organizations together, you can create something very special and something you just can't do with the sum of its parts. So particularly when you're talking about a nascent technology like quantum and you're trying to move the whole field forwards, then I think those types of partnerships are critical, whether they're competitors or not. So I would happily work in consortium with other banks, for example, if it helps solve some of the problems of the emerging threat for cryptography, right?
Exactly.
It's kind of...
ultimately, customers don't care, right?
No.
How many people, when you log onto your Excel spreadsheet, right, and you're making a change on your laptop, you are touching so many different organizations. Some are collaborating, some are competition. But in order to build that seamless experience, the same for quantum, you're touching on a full stack, and no one can do all of that. Yeah. And it would be unhealthy to. And even in classical compute today, you have all of the different layers of the stack interacting in different ways. You've got so much collaboration and supply chain challenges and management there. That's the future that we're building, and that's the power of these partnerships early on, is building towards that maturity.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Amazing. Glad to hear it, obviously. So finally, talking of partnerships, Vivek earlier in his keynote speech quoted the Hiroshima Accord, talking about the collaboration between UK and Japan, talking about how we're global leaders in science, technology, and innovation, and wanting to work together to bring that into AI and quantum. So Rachel, how do you think we can apply that to quantum? How can we make that work in this space?
I think, as I said already, collaboration is key.
Of course.
So, we are already seeing the emergence of a number of global quantum leading nations, let's call us that. And, enabling interactions between those nations is critical. So the UK has a lot of positive, history around collaboration with Japan, and the Accord provides an additional opportunity and platform to build on that. So it's a really positive step forward, but actually, it's wider than that. It should be a multilateral effort as well as a bilateral, because you need to create the environment for that sector to grow. I think from a sort of Fujitsu perspective, you know, I think it's really great to see this collaboration with OQC and to have OQC, to have Fujitsu with its Centre for Cognitive and Advanced Technologies in the UK. So I think we're just seeing a real melting pot in the UK of lots of different actors and platforms and people just coming together and trying things out. So I think it just adds to that both on the academic and the industry side.
And how are you drawing academics globally? Is that funding partnerships with other nations in their quantum programs, or are you just drawing academics from other nations?
It's a variety of things. So yeah, the UK has partnerships, as I said, with Japan, with Canada, the US, with Europe, and there are lots of exchange programs that have been created to enable people to move across and kind of cross-fertilize the whole ecosystem. So yeah, I think just making sure that we continue to enable that to happen is going to be really important.
Great.
Yeah, we're really happy to collaborate with the UK company and UK universities, right? And actually, we have a physical research Europe in UK. So originally, we had a team for the design leader, but now we are expanding the team so that we can work on the quantum hardware and the quantum software, especially algorithm. So anyway, so we're really very happy to collaborate with universities in UK and also companies. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, but maybe I will need a government funding from the government.
Do we have any questions from the audience for the panel? Amazing, lots of questions.
Okay. Philip White, Department for Business and Trade. I'd be interested in a short answer from each of you as to if I'm considering moving to the UK to seek a job in the industry, or considering to set up my company, move my company to the UK, what would you pitch to me?
Wow.
Either an employee or a company, whichever.
Who wants to take that first?
Maybe I should take it first as the government, government to government, and promote Phil as our man in trade. Yeah, so I think I've touched on it already, but when we talk to people in the build-up to publishing the strategy, we talked to loads of people in the UK and globally about what is it about the UK that it sort of is a USP, if you like, and it is the academic excellence, it is the people. It's also the user base, because we have a lot of the key sectors that are anticipated to benefit from quantum. So quantum companies want to be in the UK for that purpose. But actually more importantly is the fact that the program brings all of that together. So we provide opportunities to enable this collaboration to happen where you bring a user in. So we've got lots of ISCF projects or hub activities where it is just about bringing people together and letting them explore opportunities.
As employers,
I'm happy to pitch.
Go on.
Yeah, sure. So why should you come to the UK if you want to work in quantum? Well, a number of reasons. First of all, I think we will talk to the incredible government support, the fact that the UK was pioneering in setting up the first quantum program all the way back in 2013, which was mostly within the academic sphere, setting up these quantum hubs, but really did serve as a catalyst. And from that has thrived an incredible startup ecosystem. So there is, I should know off the top of my head, 43 plus quantum computing companies, whether you want to work in hardware or software or otherwise, and a ton of support, collaboration, opportunity here in the UK. But we're not just being limited, right? We're not saying it's the UK only. There's a huge amount of international collaboration that's facilitating, and really is the center and the hub for quantum, the springboard of this entire new quantum industry and ecosystem. Now, being cheeky, you should come work for OQC because we are leading the way and pioneering the field, and we really do invest in our people, our talent, our culture, and we are an international company. I think OQC exists in Japan. We have our OQC KK out there. We're also in Spain. So we are an international, rapidly growing, incredibly exciting company. And there's so few opportunities that you have to do something that's going to make an impact and to change the world. And you can come and work for OQC or any the company, but particularly OQC, and make that reality happen.
I'm sold. Where do you apply?
We'll talk after,
Okay.
right?
Oh no.
You're also sold.
From our perspective, you know, we're a huge global bank. We're you know, honestly, we're not specifically targeting any particular region, but I would say this: the majority of our team are in the UK. Our head office is in the UK. And the other point I would make is 3 of the research projects we're doing are funded by Innovate UK. So I think, you know, the proof is kind of in the pudding there, but that, you know, that's what I'll say about it.
Sato-san, anything to add about UK?
Yeah, okay.
Japan also has excellence.
Any more questions from the audience?
Thanks. Stuart Nicol from Quantum Exponential. In times of crisis, we tend to look within ourselves and to our own countries, but 5-10 years ago, we'd have been at an SDG conference, maybe in Nairobi, speaking about how we can, you know, spread wealth to the rest of the world, not steal all the great people, and/or steal them for a bit and then hand them back with the ability to develop physics laboratories in their own countries. So what about emerging economies, non-aligned economies, non-aligned countries, and, you know, the global south? Because I don't see much quantum coming out of there or being nurtured there at the moment.
I can start if it's helpful. It's a really good question. Quantum is hard to engage with, and it at the moment is in the nations that have those sort of established quantum programs, and have put a lot of effort into nurturing it, and it's not a cheap area. So I think, you know, that is why we see it in the countries we do at the moment. But there are efforts within the World Economic Forum or the Open Quantum Institute where, you know, people are now looking at the question of access to compute, and nations are engaging in that. So I think it's great to see that quite a few quantum companies are now saying we will dedicate X amount of our compute time to solving, you know, net zero sustainability issues, for example. So I think it's really early days, but it's really important we think about those things now.
Anyone else have a comment?
Yeah, I can add to that, if that's okay. Sure. So I think it's a very great question, because we do also, of course, need to be mindful about when we're building this type of next generation technology that is really truly representing a paradigm shift in capability. There's going to be impact, right? And there's going to be impact for those regions that have it, those regions that don't have it. And we can't be naive to that point, and we do need to be considerate, but equally, this is quantum ethics, right? And it's ethics of technology more broadly that we should be starting to make sure we're thinking about. But it's also because of the long-term applications and the known risk of being able to decrypt Shor's algorithm, for example, and break RSA encryption, right? There's a huge amount of government focus and effort around quantum as a technology for national strategic importance. And rightly so, right? Because from an ethical perspective, it's not right to not engage, right? We need to make sure that we are having a forward look on that and making sure that we understand it and we're protecting our citizens effectively by investing in these types of technologies and programs. And that's from a place of fear, but from a place of opportunity as well, we can attract huge industries, develop huge ecosystems, really be the center for that, which will bring and drive economic prosperity. But what that kind of dynamic creates, unfortunately, is more like quantum nationalism, where each individual region starts to have a quantum program. And we were pioneering in leading that programmatic thinking, which has been replicated around the world. But we need to make sure that we don't go insular, and that's not to the detriment of collaboration internationally in a world where geopolitically we need to make sure that we're all working together more than ever. And that's reflected in the quantum ecosystem and how we work. But it also is reflected in things like AUKUS, right? In many of the international government facilities, the UK Indo-Pacific relationships that are developing. So I see that in this space. And then as a space, we also need to make sure that we're thinking about how we can support the other regions that may not have the academic grounding and expertise, but there's smart people all around the world, right? And I've met incredible quantum engineers and algorithm specialists that come from remote regions in Africa, and we want to make sure we can give them access to our systems through OQC labs, through various partner programs. How can we sponsor, qubit for qubit? How can we engage with different initiatives so that we are playing our part effectively and thinking considerately and from a place of ethics around recognizing this divide and mitigating that. So I think you can be a business that is both ethical, sustainable, competitive, and make a ton of money at the same time. Like, those shouldn't be independent. We can do all of that.
Yeah.
Probably a question for Rachel initially, although maybe others could comment. What is the government doing about monitoring and controlling the environmental impact of quantum computing and I guess other related computing projects, particularly if it's investing heavily in encouraging them? Is that going to work against our need to get to net zero urgently?
That's a very great question and a really hard one to answer.
Can I just
Yep.
ask a question? Where is this narrative coming from? Because quantum computers are actually very energy efficient, and I'd love to understand, because I had this question probably 5 times in the last 48 hours. There's clearly something that's like some information on, I know, a newspaper or something that's come out. But quantum computers are really energy efficient comparative to existing computational power. So Simon, do you have the number? Do you know? Right now at your mouth? 10 kilowatts for 1,000 qubits. 4,000 qubits, there we go. And if you can do the type of problems that you can solve with 10 kilowatts, 4,000 qubits, relative to the same infrastructure of energy in existing compute, is mind-blowing. It's absolutely significant. So the energy utilization, actually, they're much more energy efficient. The other piece we often get challenged on is the use of cryogenics. Again, that's something that really, as a natural resource, is not one that's heavily used. You have a cryogenic infrastructure, you get the systems down to low energy environments of, well, colder than space. That's very simple. And actually, the more cryogenics infrastructure is used within hospitals, significantly more than the type of amount of cryogenics that's used to keep a quantum computer solved. So firstly, I don't want to challenge the question because it's a really, really valid question, but I'd like to understand where it's coming from and help.
By the way, we just have 2 minutes,
Sorry.
so perhaps we can take this debate offline then. Maybe Rachel can answer the question directly first.
Yeah, sorry, thanks.
Yeah, sure. So I think, as Alana's getting at, it's a complicated question to unpick because there is quite a lot of controversy around, how energy intensive is it? You've got hybrid, and then and that's going to be have its own challenges in terms of sustainability, as classical compute does now. So I think, government is very aware of the issue, but it's so early days, it's quite hard to kind of provide a response that we think is, well, evidence-based and credible in terms of the impacts for now. I think is probably just to be honest about it.
But within Innovate UK and within direct investment, there are ESG targets that as an organisation we have to meet, right, across the board.
Yeah, so there are wider government policies around sustainability that anything that we fund has to meet as an objective, but yeah.
So if you'd like us to wrap up, thank you all for joining us today. I hope it's demonstrated why we're excited about quantum computing. I'm particularly excited to hear about the Office for Quantum, the Skills Task Force, and that you believe there's value in 50 to 100 qubits. I completely agree. I'd just like to thank our panelists again, and if you want to continue this discussion, please feel free to come over to the Fujitsu stand if you've got any further questions.
Or OQC stand as well, if you have one, or HSBC. I think there were really great pitches this time from all the companies.
That's okay. We'll hang out with our friends at Fujitsu.
Yeah.
Thank you again for a really, really interesting discussion, and especially, Ilana, you touched upon the ethical and the security parts of the quantum computing, which is really sort of a demanding discussion. One thing we missed, and we could have touched a bit more, was the regulatory part as well, because that's probably a crucial element as well. When you go cross-border, you talk about the security, and it plays a part, but maybe that discussion can happen in other panels. But please, round of applause for all our panelists for an amazing discussion. Thank you so much for joining us today.